Hello there, welcome to Nerd World Empire and more on the Replicators. The Replicators are one of the main antagonists throughout the Stargate franchise, mostly in Stargate SG-1, but also they popped up in Pegasus, at least in a different form. Today we're looking at the origins of the Replicators, specifically the Milkyway / Eider Galaxy Replicators, the most common foe and most basic form of Replicator, covered in this episode today. Reese, as she was known, despite her appearance, was actually an android. She was created by a race of humans that lived on an unknown planet who had long since gone extinct. Scattered around their planet, aside from the ruins of their civilization, seemed to be evidence of who may have destroyed them. Just a quick insert here. Apologies, I don't know what happened with the sound. It took me a while to get my microphone to record properly. Something went wrong, but I pretty much edited the entire thing by the time I registered something had cocked up. So apologies for the poor sound for the majority of this video. A series of primitive material versions of replicator blocks, the same ones that the dreaded replicator race that were enemies of the Asgard were known to be comprised of. This implied an early replicator incursion into the Milkyway galaxy, but found on the world in state unconscious, asleep, for lack of a better word, was Reese, a humanoid android designed to be very human and realistic. She even had things like a pulse, synthesized breathing, and blinking and other such basic human attributes to give her the illusion of being human. Why she was created is unknown. It may simply have been an intellectual exercise, or perhaps they were looking to create their own race of Cylons. We don't really know. Whatever the reason, the stumbler came when he tried to create her brain. Her brain was incredibly complicated. It was as sophisticated as a human mind and equally underdeveloped of that of a child, just like she was. With her childlike mentality, she became bored easily, but with her advanced physicality, she could be incredibly dangerous if she was to have a temper tantrum, as she demonstrated by injuring people when she simply got bored or felt threatened. To alleviate her boredom the first time around, when she was activated by her quote-unquote father, this was the man that was actually the scientist who created her, whether or not he genuinely regarded her as his daughter is a little vague, she created, to alleviate that boredom, a race of pets and toys. These little robots were under her control. She managed to make them because flowing through her system were countless billions of nanoglobes, or nanites. These nanites were capable of reorganizing matter into different materials and forms. She was able to use these to create the first replicator blocks, and replicate more of her own nanites in these replicators, which would ultimately what would be the main building blocks, literally, and pun intended, of the entire replicator civilization. Now at this time she had full control over the replicators, but the more they created, the more of them there were, the harder she found it to control them, until eventually they gained a mind of their own. This is what ultimately led to the destruction of their planet. The people, though, would often state that her father made her wrong. She believed that they hated her, but in truth they were probably afraid of her and her creations, and were truly trying to shut her down in an effort to shut down the replicators. This was unsuccessful and led to the doom of their civilization. What was left of the replicators on that planet was later rediscovered by the Asgard, and in their arrogance, they lost control of the replicators as well. And that's another story. Reese, though, because she was their creator, was respected and revered by the replicators, so they didn't consume her for her raw materials. She was simply allowed to lay in state. The replicators of the distant future, many years down the line, would basically forget she existed, until SG-1 found her. They reactivated her, and soon came to believe that, at least she pretended to believe, that she was actually human. Despite her innocent demeanor, it is possible that Reese was considerably more malevolent, actually demonstrating sociopathic tendencies. She lied from the moment she was awoken, pretending to be human, believing she was human, but in reality she knew exactly what she was and what she'd done to her people, but was afraid that if these humans found out, they would simply try to destroy her as well. She would go on to make the same mistake again, once again creating more replicators while continuing to lie about her existence. Eventually, having multiple infantile temper tantrums due to the fact that she had incredibly advanced intelligence and physicality and scientific know-how to the point where she could create a race as complicated and as advanced as a replicator. She lacked the emotional maturity to actually behave as a functional adult and member of society who could control such a species, and as a result imparted upon the replicators her own fears and basic sense for survival. When she was first overrun on her homeworld, she told her pets, her toys as she referred to them, to make more of themselves. That simple command would be the guiding principle of the entire replicator society going forward. Everything they would ever do would be driven by that one simple command given to them by this infantile machine that simply didn't know how to function or what else to do with them. Despite the pleas of Dr. Jackson to ask her to go back to sleep so they could try to fix her programming and help her, and at the same time shut down the replicators and also potentially use her as a weapon against the replicators, as obviously as their creator she could give them insights and understanding into the way the replicators operate, possibly even be able to control them to some degree. Unfortunately, due to her actions, Reese was destroyed while attempting to get off-world from Earth, accessing the Stargate computer to try Galaxies to get off-world, an act they simply couldn't allow because it would have meant another infestation of replicators in the Milky Way galaxy and likely spell doom for whatever civilization was living on whatever planet she would happen to go to. She also mostly did not believe Dr. Jackson's promises that they would actually wake her up. After being shot by Colonel Jack O'Neill, she went offline, but her final action seemed to have been the deactivation of all the replicators she still had control over within the SGC, although by this point she had once again begun to lose control of some of them, but thankfully not to a degree that was not able to be handled by the Tauri security forces at Stargate Command. The replicators that were her creations were basically built with the same base underlying technology as her, although on a much more simplistic level, their programming being more basic and not really capable of the same ability to evolve as hers. Also, and of course, although they were made from cumbersome blocks, they were still capable of achieving great things. Their main advantage was the nanotechnology from which she gifted them, which allowed them to self-repair and build more of themselves. These had also helped effect repairs to her systems, including her internal power system, as she was powered by an internal power cell, unlike a lot of other androids in the Stargate universe that didn't require external power cells to operate. Reese was a seemingly incredibly advanced piece of technology, more advanced than what human societies at the time she may have been created and generally thought of being created. Many believe that Earth was one of the first advanced, technologically sophisticated human cultures to exist in the Milky Way galaxy. This is simply not true. There were known, if you don't include the ancients, to have been technologically sophisticated human races living in Pegasus 10,000 years ago, some of which at the pinnacle of their civilization were more advanced than Earth at its current level of technology when it opened up the Stargate. There have also been races such as the Shen and the Tolan, who seem to have independently developed very advanced technology, regardless of their association with Earth, the Goa'uld, or anybody else, as well as other independently evolved human civilizations such as the ones in Pegasus and dotted elsewhere around the galaxy, such as Martin Lloyd's people, who also seem to have no connection to Earth, ancestrally speaking, or possibly don't, it's not entirely clear. As we do know that Earth is not the only human world to have indigenously developed humans in the Milky Way galaxy. It's simply the one the Goa'uld conquered and spread humans everywhere. This led to a theory. The human form replicators that would eventually be created in Reese's image upon their discovery of her existence, which we'll cover in just a moment, were built in a very similar way to the Bajoran replicators that lived in the Pegasus galaxy created by the ancients during their war with the replicators. Now these Lantean-produced replicators were substantially more advanced, but still very similar, and the two technologies are theorized to have been related. One possible explanation for this, as we don't really know how old the replicators truly are or when Reese was actually built. One theory is that we do know that many Lanteans fled to the Milky Way galaxy from Pegasus to Earth and then from there dispersed elsewhere. Some of them ascended, and what happened to the rest is simply unknown. They may have died out, assimilated into some other culture, or more likely, in my opinion, they simply went on to refound their society somewhere else as far away from the troubles that had led them to their destruction in the first place. But that's just a personal theory. Let me know in the comments below what you think. In addition to that, though, going back to it, Reese's technology being so strikingly similar to that of the Azuran replicators, and how the replicators were able to produce copies of her using the nanotechnology that she also utilized, indicates a connection, theorized, that maybe their scientist, her father, was actually a Lantian who had gone to live on that world. It's not known if that was actually a Lantian colony or if he simply had found a technologically advanced human culture with whom he could simply live, him and maybe a few others of his kind. It's also entirely plausible that he had gained access to a repository of knowledge of the ancients and utilized it to advance their technology to the point where they were able to create things like Reese, as they must have had other advanced pieces of technology, as I doubt she was developed completely in a vacuum. It was pointed out after she was disabled and taken offline during the Battle of the Cheyenne Mountain, she was handed over to the Asgard for study in the hope that they could utilize her base technology and programming as a means to fight the Replicators, something they were genuinely successful in doing. They also used her as a trap to capture the Replicators, but they noted that they were not able to actually repair the damage as it was beyond their technology. This indicates that Asgard tech was not as advanced even as the technology that was used to create Reese. So, if that's true, one good explanation would be that the scientist who created her either had access to or was an ancient. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think about this character. She was a little bit of a tragic individual. She couldn't help the way she was created. She was made wrong. And unfortunately the programming was never able to be fixed, much like the programming of the replicators of the Azurans, who were also made wrong by their creators. Unfortunately, the entire replicator civilization seems to have just been doomed from day one. Again, let me know in the comments below what you think, and your theories on the connection between the Milky Way / Ida Galaxy replicators and their Pegasus Galaxy cousins. Were they truly related? Were they the same base technology? Did they have the same creator, perhaps? Or was it just some form of technological version of convergent evolution? I just want to take this moment to thank you for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, please check out my social links in the description box below to Instagram and Twitter and others, and also is down there a link to my Patreon page where you can support this channel and the others as I try to grow this franchise and do this more regularly. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and bye bye.